everyday thing. It's an everyday thing. It's an everyday thing when you let your nuts hang.
Long story time. Well, let's get into it.
Let me explain how a lie took my son's entire life. My son was 17. His girlfriend lived in my house. When I kicked her out for cheating and lying, she didn't just get mad. She made up a horrible story about him. Now, she was white. We live in a racist county. Instead of investigating anything, 6 white cops showed up to my house and took my son away and wouldn't even tell us why. I helped her come back into my house and take evidence. There was no investigation, no witnesses, no medical records, just her word. The first judge caught her lying and threw out the worst charges. Then another judge, a former prosecutor, put everything back on the table and blocked all of our evidence. An all-white jury convicted him. My son got life. She moved to Florida and got engaged. If you think this can't happen, you're wrong. Please report this. People need to see it. So, 2018, my husband and I come back from New York for our anniversary, and this girl's in our home. My son got her there, and he said that she was going to stay for the weekend, so we were like, okay. Once the weekend was over, she's still there. We get her information. She said her name was Emiliana. Her friend was supposed to come and pick her up. This kept on going on for days. So finally we're like, okay, it's time for you to go. And she sits down with me, tells me that her mom kicked her out. She didn't have anywhere to go. Her stepfather was molesting her, watching her get out of showers and stuff, and her mom was allowing it. I have a soft spot for children, of course. I have 8 of them myself, and I love children, so this broke my heart. I allowed her to stay for a little while longer. Well, this little while longer went on for 7-8 months, and she just found every excuse in the world not to leave my house. I've tried several times at this point to get her out of the house, called the cops, so forth. They said she had squatter rights. She just wouldn't leave. She ended up being like this liar, just a bad liar, and she will lie to your face. Even with evidence being there, she will still look at you right in your face and lie about things. We found her, sending nudes to guys while my son was at work. And she told my son the whole time that her phone was broken. She caught herself smoking weed with my 14-year-old daughter at the time, lied to my son and said that was my daughter's idea, got her in trouble. Just a lot of BS, and I couldn't seem to get rid of this girl. At one point, she left finally, and then hitchhiked her way back to my house with her mom's stolen credit card, and I had people knocking at my door. I mean, it was just a big, huge mess. So fast forward all the way to the month that we kicked her out. I kicked her out. Her and my son was working full-time at Burger King, and he was a minor, so they stopped giving him hours, and she was not a minor, so they kept her on full-time. Well, my son found out that she was having sex with one of the guys that she worked with at Burger King. He reached out to my son's like, hey, your girl's a hoe, I didn't after this many times, and whatever. My son was heartbroken. He actually cried to me, but he wanted to forgive her, and I'm like, no, she needs to get out of my house. I mean, there's been so many incidents where it's just time for her to go now. And so I kicked her out. I made phone calls. I contacted her grandmother. Her grandmother told me that she had a mental issue ever since she was a little girl. Her mother really didn't have anything to do with her and that she raised her. However, that this girl, well, first, her real name was not Emiliana, it was Emily, and she stole over $17K from her grandfather, and her grandfather kicked her out, said, if you step foot on this property again, we will call the cops. So then at that point, she went with her mom and stole her mom's car and got pulled over, had possession of weed, got on probation, ended up with a warrant for her arrest. And she had been at my house. I found out that she was on the run. She had a warrant for her arrest. So I said, well, at this point, she's going to be homeless. I don't care. I want this girl out of my house. You guys as a family need to figure out what you're going to do. And then she took a bunch of pills that was in my medicine cabinet. She told my son, well, if I can't have you, I don't want to live. My son was, of course, very scared. He begged me to take her to the hospital. I then called the cops and said, hey, you guys need to do something about this girl. You know, number one, we live in a predominantly 90% like a neighborhood where it's just predominantly white people, and we're like the only colored family in the area. And I said, you know, if she happens to do anything to herself of that nature and unalive herself, of course we would be the ones to be looked at. So at this point, I'm like, this is not okay. So I did tell her grandmother, I did tell her mother this. Well, I didn't speak directly to her mother, but her grandmother told her mother this, and her mother finally agreed to come and get her. Well, the day that her mom came to get her, we made sure that she had everything out of the house. I didn't want anything left behind because of how hard it's been to get rid of this girl and her keep coming back. The cops explained if she leaves at her own free will, then I didn't have to legally evict her, and she would then have given up her squatter's rights and just to not let her come back. So I made sure everything was taken. So then at this point, she was gone. I find out her mom took her to jail the same exact day she came to pick her up. Because later on that night, she started calling my son from jail. And she had gotten 30 days in jail. And she did those 30 days. She called my son over 100 times. And the day that she got out, she brought the cops to my house. I was not home. My husband and I was not home. And my oldest son was watching the kids for me. So when the cops came, they brought my son on the porch. My son called us on speakerphone. And they said that they wanted to ask him questions and stuff. We said no, we're on our way home. We'd be there in about 15 minutes. And we'll bring our lawyer. And then at that point, you guys can speak to the lawyer. The cops did not like that. And they hung up on me. And then they had this girl in the car. Told my children and us, because we was on, my husband was on another phone call on speakerphone, and the cop says, well, she's here to come and pick up some things. And we said no, she took everything she owned. She does not have anything in our house. Do not let this girl in our house. The cops did not care. They let her in our house with us not there, without our permission. Wouldn't let my son go upstairs, so she was free to go upstairs and get whatever she wanted. So when we did get home, they took my son to jail while we weren't there, and I had to pay $10,000 to get my son out of jail. And when he got home, he seen that all the letters that she wrote him while she was in jail was gone. His Cartiers was gone. $3,000 was taken, and his coat, his ID, just other little things that was his. So the cops basically assisted her in a robbery and a home invasion at this point. So we told our lawyer about that, and he says, well, at this point, because it's such a racist county out there, just call and file a complaint. Well, the complaining officer that came was one of the guys who brought her over here. So anyways, we end up having to go to court. They charged him with originally they charged him with 4 things. And then it went to the prosecutor's office and they hiked it up. And Allegan is known for hiked up charges. They hiked it up for 8 charges total, 7 felonies and 1 misdemeanor. And what they came up with, this girl's story was so horrendous and so monstrous. You have to stick around for part 2 and hear the rest of the story. It will blow your mind. So they ended up charging my son with strangulation, torture, wrongful imprisonment, intent to do bodily harm. I mean, it was so many things. I can't even remember all the things that they charged my son with. Again, he's only 17 at the time of this. And we hear her statement on what happened. Well, come to find out, she told her mom that her mom was also racist, that my son had imprisoned her. She couldn't eat. She had went days at a time without eating. She was locked in the room. However, I had to show exactly what our upstairs looked like. And it's impossible to lock anybody in the room because the lock is on the inside. That he would pour pee on her every single day. However, she worked a full-time job at Burger King. The guy that she was caught cheating with, he raped her, which she admitted on the stand that was a lie. She lied on him too. That my son would beat her, take her to the shed, beat her on mattresses, and just the most craziest things you can ever imagine. And everything, there was no investigation. No cops ever came over here to speak to my son or to speak to the family. My husband and I own a business. We work from home, so we're here 90% of the time, unless we're going grocery shopping or something like that. My kids were doing online school at the time, so I had 8 kids, 6 at the time. This was a house full of people. Okay, I had 4 children living upstairs with them. Okay, and she also claimed that my son raped her, and did a bunch of other things, but they were in this. She was living here in my home in a consensual relationship with my son. So there was never no investigation. Like I said, cops never came here, pulled up no carpet, checked for pee, never looked for these scissors or belt buckles that she claimed he beat her with, never did anything at all. We were the one to provide the pictures of the home, how my home is laid out, of the shed. She claimed to have slept in the dead winter in Michigan and survived. Nothing. They just literally took her word. She took pictures of bruises. However, she spent 30 days in jail since she left my house. Who keeps bruises on their body for 30 days and then be able to come home and take pictures of these bruises and then they be used as evidence? Okay. And then the cops, it was her mother who made this report, where we already know. One of the last conversations that they had, my son and her had on the phone while she was in jail, was, you have to lie to your mom or something because I don't have anywhere to go. I need to be able to come there. So just lie to her and tell her I never cheated on you. My son says, I'm sorry. my mom is not going to let you come back to our house. I'm sorry. He says you have to lie. You have to do whatever you have to do to get in good with your mom or your grandma, because my mom's not going to let you come back here. Well, he never thought in a million years she was going to make these types of lies to get in good with her mom, so she'll have a place to stay. So she made her mom believe that he was doing all of these horrific things to her, so she would feel sorry for her and let her daughter stay. Well, when she heard her daughter say all these things, she called the cops, just as any mother would do, and reported this stuff. Well, the cops here, being arrogant and racist, they're like, well, can you get her to come down here and say this about him? And her mom made her. And the cops was like, well, with her statement, with her saying this, then we can press charges against him. So after that, she was calling my son, she was calling me, she was saying sorry for lying, she didn't want any of this to happen, but she didn't want to come clean at this point because she was afraid, she didn't want to go to prison, all of this stuff, and I had him out on bond, so I didn't want to, him to break his bond or get his bond revoked. So I denied her to be able to see my son, and she's just calling me, begging me to let her see him. And at this point, I'm just like, no, not at all. So I paid for 2 lawyers at the time and went to a preliminary hearing, and the judge caught her lying so many times. He threw out all of those big charges that they had, and including like the torture, the wrongful imprisonment, all of that stuff. He took all of that out. Well, he bounded over the CSC charges. Now, it happened to go to circuit court at that point, and the judge, the most crooked judge in Allegan, the most racist judge in Allegan, it went to Margaret Baker. She was prosecutor for CSC cases. Anybody who's ever gone in front of her for CSC has been found guilty. So at this point, the prosecution was to get 30 days to file for, to try to reinstate those charges. Well, guess what? It went past those 30 days, but Judge Baker, she says, I'm going to still allow it, and I'm going to reinstate all of the charges the first judge just took out, because it says that this happened in her statement. So I don't see what the credibility issue could have been. Well, the first judge spent 2 days listening to her on the stand, which she hadn't even listened to her at that point. Didn't care what the first judge said. She reinstated all of those charges. So it had to go to trial. The judge says, well, I want this trial over in 3 days. It was 10 Caucasian men, 2 Caucasian women in the jury. Every piece of evidence that we had over 100 phone calls of her saying the complete opposite of what she claimed happened to her in this house. Judge Baker wouldn't allow those phone calls to be played to the jury. We had pictures, we had videos, my son was a rapper, so he would record everything. He literally had videos on Snapchat of them every single day. There's no bruises, there's no locked up, there's no torture, there's no anything of that nature. It's just 2 young people having fun, smoking weed, rapping, making videos, just regular relationship stuff. And she wouldn't allow that. She wouldn't allow none of the pictures. And then during that time, my son ended up getting another girlfriend, and then she really got mad and she really went in. So her story of, oh, I'm afraid I'm going to get in trouble for telling the truth turned into, oh yes, he really did this stuff to me. And she went full force at trying to get him in trouble. She was even reaching out to people saying, let's get his bond revoked. And we had all that as evidence too. Like, she was literally plotting to try to get him to revoke his bond and get him locked up on other charges. So, after all of that happened during the trial, we actually seen the Judge Baker. She was bringing cookies to one of the prosecutors on the day that it was given to our attorney to plead for my son's life. And at that point, we seen, and the Judge Baker was actually accused of working with the prosecution, and they were doing an active investigation on her at that point. So with all of this happening, and the prosecutor or the judge was fighting with our lawyer more than the prosecutor. Well, he did lose his case. So my son was sentenced to 23 years to 60 years. And this is truly a mother's worst nightmare. I have paid for over 5 lawyers. I have paid over $250,000 paying for lawyers for my son. And we've got one shot left. And we're just begging and hoping that this girl would just come clean. Just come clean and just tell the truth. And at this point right now, she's got a black boyfriend. So I know that she's got to save face in front of him and his family, because if they found out what she really truly did, I don't think that she'd be in that relationship right now. But it's just a horrible feeling to know that your child's life is in the hands of a lawyer. To find someone who actually cares about helping versus just looking at this case like a check. Right now, I've got him one of the best top lawyers in Michigan for an appeal. So I am praying in the name of Jesus that everything is going to work out with this appeal. Again, he was 17 when this happened. He's 23. He's about to be 24 now. He is, I'm the only one that's been there for him through this whole ordeal. And it hurts. It hurts to be the only one there for him during all this. He has a daughter that he's never met in person. She really misses her daddy. She wants to see her daddy. She wants to meet her daddy. As of right now, she's calling a whole nother man daddy. And it breaks his heart. And, he actually had a record deal before he was locked up, before his life was taken from him. They were trying to get him to California. And there were several music labels reaching out to him. And it's just, his life was taken from him at 17. And I've been fighting ever since to get it back. So if you are interested in reaching out to him, I know that would mean a lot. He is looking for pen pals and, people to just vibe with and talk to. He is a man of God, and he is still looking up, staying positive. And his name is Tyrion Henriquez. I will leave his information in the information below. His number is 672-344. And any positivity, any help, that would be great. And we are still fighting. We are still believing. And he does have a lawsuit. We have lawsuits. And as soon as we get him home, we will be leaving Allegan. Allegan is the worst place to raise anyone of color. And if I would have known that, I would not have bought a house here. I was just looking for a house big enough for my big family. And I wanted to get my son out of the city and away from drugs and gang violence and things like that. And he got caught up in this anyway. So it's really sad. It's a horrible story. I stay prayed up. I stay talking to him every day. We stay prayed up, and I would just like for his story to be shared, because no person should have to go through this. His trial lawyer said this was a real life 2026 lynching. They lynched my son, and he just looked at my son like another paycheck, but he disguised himself under caring. He acted like he cared, but yet he allowed the judge to do everything she could do that was corrupt, and that was just evil. It was wrong to play with people's lives like that. So you share this story. People deserve better. We deserve real justice.
What to do, everyday people, man? It's your boy PJ. Today we back with another lit live video. We live on Twitch, man. Shout out to my everyday people who rock with me every day, man. We got our new channel, Late Night Stories with PJ. Alright, so man, this is a crazy situation. I'm not understanding how this man could get 23 to 60 years without no evidence. No evidence being presented, no evidence being shown. That just don't make no sense at all. You know, a lot of people are questioning if the story is being told in full, or if she's leaving out parts, or if he actually done if he actually done what he's being accused of, which I think is preposterous. I mean, I'm thinking like, you know, she said that they moved out to the country. Like, if you know that I don't think they actually knew that they was moving to a racist county, but this is what what I don't understand about people, why people move in such a manner to places like this. You know, why would you move to a place where you could potentially be targeted, especially being a minority? It sounds like they're either black and Hispanic or something, because his name definitely sounded Hispanic and she looks black. But not to place blame on her, but I'm just saying it just sounds too crazy, and I'm not gonna say that. I'm not gonna just go out here and say that he's guilty, because I don't know, and I'm not even taking an innocent, but it just sounds so crazy that somebody could get convicted of something that they didn't do with no evidence that's proven. Somebody could lie that well that they could lie with no evidence. There's somebody showing pictures of bruises. Like, where are the timestamps of the bruises, and how do you know that there's a bruise? Like, where is the proof that there was a domestic? Like, there should be proof that they were trying to evict the girl from her home, but seeing that she stayed there for so long, it's just like, and what type of son was he? Like, did he have a record, or did he have any past run-ins with the law? Like, what made them give him 23 to 60 years in prison with no criminal record, with no evidence, with nothing, just he say, she say? I've never heard that in my life.
These are some of the phone calls that were suppressed during court.
So what, y'all got what's wrong with fucking bad you? Dude, I'm not doing nothing, dude. I'm literally talking to my mom. Okay, well, I got 1 minute. You make a kid speaking. Oh, fuck that. Hey, baby. Well, you got me fucked up. Dude, I got 1 fucking minute. You been declining my fucking call. I'm about to fuck you so which one the fuck is that you? Dude, I'm not doing nothing, dude. I'm literally focused on my mom. Okay, well, I have your fucking kids, man. Like, I'm not even fucking playing. There's a girl pregnant up in here, and her belly is so cute. I want to have your baby. I want to have your fucking kids, man. Like, I'm not even fucking playing. There's a girl. So glad you're gonna be looking so good when I get out of my face. Ooh. Hell no, you better not cheat on me no more. I said faint. I said you better not cheat on me no more. Oh, no, baby, no. I said I might faint when I see you because you look so good. Yeah, man, my ass gonna do a movie video. Oh, glad you're gonna be. I don't know that, nigga. You went sneaky 7 times behind my back, more than 7 times back. I understand that, but it's not. Baby, it ain't no trust at all, nigga. Don't think it's gonna be trust, baby. I feel, bro. I'm gonna be here, baby, but that was fucked up, and it hurts me so much. And then there's only one thing we can do is move past it. If you wanna be with me, then you gotta move past it. I'm willing to fucking do anything. I just wanna do anything, baby, but at the same time, that shit's fucked up. I know. Why do you think I did this to myself? That ain't okay. I know it's not okay. Why do you think I did this to myself? I don't know that, nigga. Hey, baby.
Bro, what kind of lawyer did she have that we couldn't play this evidence in court to show that, man, ain't no way that my son did all this to this girl, and hell no. And y'all ain't gonna let me play this in court? Man, I'm gonna sit up there and I'm gonna stand up in court and play these messages. Cause this need to be heard. This is real evidence. Why is this evidence not being played in court? If this is evidence, if y'all gonna go on he say, she say, this is he say, she say about their relationship of what happened. This don't make no sense.
Well, you got me fucked up. I only got 1 fucking minute. You been declining my fucking call. I'm about to fuck. So what? Y'all know which one the fuck is that you? Dude, I'm not doing nothing, dude. I'm literally focused on my mom. Okay, well, I got 1 minute. You may begin speaking. Oh, listen to me. I've been talking bad about you to her, like I don't want you and shit. So I got her on my side. That's how I did it. I didn't want to tell you that, but that's what I have to do. So when she put this money in my book on Sunday, I can barely hear you because it's a really bad storm outside too. So she put this money in my books on Sunday.
These letters she wrote me, dog. It's crazy. My birthday.
Because my son's story is reaching more people, I see a lot of questions being asked. What are his charges? They must have missed it in previous videos. But I believe in being transparent. Now, my son was accused of extremely serious crimes, including torture, unlawful imprisonment, and sexual assault. And I understand why hearing charges like this makes people assume guilt. But hear me when I say this. Charges are accusations, not proof. It doesn't mean that someone is guilty. And if I believe for even 1 second that my son committed these horrible acts, I would not be on this platform asking the public to pay attention. I was here, not just as his mother, but as a direct witness. And there was no investigation, no police interviews, no physical evidence at all. Yet my son was convicted. I know this is hard for people to process because we want to believe the system always gets it right. But wrongful convictions are real. This is not about arguing with the internet, and it's not about defending my parenting. This is about making sure eyes are on this case, especially as it moves through my son's appeal process, because transparency protects against injustice. So I'm welcoming the media. I'm welcoming the attention because it's much harder for wrongdoing to continue when people are watching. And I will continue speaking no matter how difficult it is for me. I will continue until my son receives the fair process every human being deserves.
All right, what do y'all think, everyday people, man? I think they got a good chance in the appeal process if it doesn't go back to the same courts. I think they need to, of course it has to go, if it goes back to the same courts, they're screwed. They're screwed because they're not even going to look at it. They're going to just continue to throw it away. It's going to have to go to the Supreme Court of the state and all the way up to the Supreme Court. And then once it goes all the way up, once he gets acquitted of these charges, he's gonna get what, $100,000 for every year that he spent in jail, which doesn't even equate to, the injustice or the mental anguish that it causes on a person to be locked up in a maximum security prison or medium security. He's probably at a medium security prison at this point. And with those type of charges, it's probably been a little rough for him. And he's had to grow and be, he's probably had some difficult times in there. You know what I mean? It depends on if he's been affiliated with any type of gang or anything. Prison can be difficult, so I'm sure it's never a cakewalk. And then having that long of a sentence, as long as he doesn't admit to guilt, some people are like, even if it weren't true, like having no prior criminal history, he could have got a plea agreement of, a couple years or something like that with no evidence or something like that. There was no evidence. There's no substantial evidence. They could have got a plea agreement just with the amount of money that he paid to a lawyer. But why would you want to plea out on something that you're innocent of, especially something of charges with that magnitude? It does sound like the police went in without a warrant. The police should have never let that girl in that house. The police should have never let that woman in their house. They should have never let that girl in their house. They should have never arrested that 17-year-old boy. They should have never. They should have never spoken to him without the parent present. If the kid is a minor, they cannot speak to a minor without an adult present. That is an immediate termination of the case. Even if he admits to guilt, that case will be thrown out based on the case of coercion by the police. Exactly. So it's so many things that could have went wrong. So it's hard to believe that there was no evidence that someone was convicted of a crime of no evidence that pointed to him. There was no DNA found. There was no weapons found. There was no blood stains found. There was no evidence of being tied up, like, scars. There was no what there was nothing, absolutely nothing. So someone could literally say, "Oh, this person did that." Bill Cosby is a free man because of so much lack of evidence. So much lack of evidence. Okay? Whether he did it or not, it was so long ago. It was so little evidence of him doing what he did. But the only thing they had was what he said on TV. That's the only evidence that they had of what he said on TV. And so and then there was a doctor that said that he prescribed him Quaaludes. So a doctor also, you know, put his reputation on the line. A doctor put his reputation on the line to help convict Bill Cosby. Imagine that. A dying doctor. You know how many people had to lie to put this man in prison? It had to be, So some states allow police to talk to kids without a parent. I don't think they do. I don't think any state allows it. I don't think any state allows it. I think they have to have the parents' acknowledgement that they can speak to them without a parent present. Like a parent, they can call a parent and be like, "Do you mind if I speak to your child about so and so?" And they don't have to be present, but they have to acknowledge. They have to acknowledge that. They have to acknowledge that. That they'll allow them to speak to their minor child without them present.
Everyday people.
Day and night. For some women, it can start working in as fast as 1 week.